So everybody keeps asking me things about Cuba, how to get to Cuba, how I do this, how I do that, what to expect. So actually, I wrote an article on tips of traveling to Cuba for your first time. But I know that a lot of people don't like to read, so I decided to make a video because a lot of people like to watch videos. So, I got something for the both of y'all, for my readers and for my watchers. So, first things first, you need a visa to get to Cuba. What I did, I booked through American Airlines, and when you book through, I guess with your particular airline, they'll give you a number to call, and you tell them the date that you're going, and how long you'll be staying, and then they'll give you a website to go to where you can actually purchase the visa online. It takes about 5 to 7 business days to do it when you book it through American. I don't know if it's the same for every airline, but I know for a fact it takes 5 to 7 business days to receive your visa in the mail once you book it through American. When you do get the visa, don't sign it until you get to the airport, because if you sign it beforehand, the countdown for your visa and the 90 days starts that day. Secondly, bring cash. American debit cards, credit cards, nothing works in Cuba. So if you try to go to Cuba and use the ATM, it ain't gonna happen. If you try to pay for something with a debit card or credit card, it ain't gonna happen. So what you have to do is when you get to whatever airport you're flying from, you convert your money from American dollars to European euros, and that'll give you the higher value for your money. And when you get to Cuba, you convert those European euros to Cuban pesos. Now there's 2 types of currencies. There is the CUC, they call it. It's spelled C-U-C, but it's pronounced CUC, and it stands for the Cuban convertible peso. That's what all the tourists use. And then they also have the one for the local currency. I think it's called BCC. Don't quote me. Cuban. I don't know. Whatever. Whatever you do, you need to exchange for the CUC at the airport, and it's like a 1-to-1 ratio to the euro and to the American dollars. So you get your money's worth. You have to bring enough cash beforehand. You have to make sure, however long you stand, that you have your money in advance, because if you get to Cuba and you run out of money, then you just asked out and you go be in Cuba looking crazy. So I advise you to bring to Cuba more than what you expect to pay. I stayed for a week and I spent like less than 300 pesos, but that was me, budgeting. You can now. It is possible to stay that long and not have to spend that much, obviously, because I did it. But if you like to buy gifts and shit like that, then you're gonna want to bring way more than that. Within my 300, I also paid for my hostel. It was like $8 a day. Cuba is cheap. It really just depends on where you stand and what you like to do and what you want to buy. Just bring enough cash to last you your entire duration. Otherwise, you go be fucked. Okay. Whenever you find water, stock up on water. I kid you not. Me and one of my homeboys from London, we walked to about, no exaggeration, about 12 different little mini markets on the corner, and none of them had water. I even asked the lady, I was like, "Tiene agua?" Which means, do you have water in Spanish? And she was like, "Agua." Like I had asked her to fucking perform open heart surgery on me or something. When I did finally find the water, I stocked up. Like a big ass bottle like this. It's like real slim, but it's real long. Real long. So, just get you a few of those and stock up, man, because you just never know when you go get you some water again. I mean, I guess they just fucking drink Cuba Libres all day, which, I'm not opposed to, but I like my water too. You need to know Spanish. You don't need to know it, but it'll definitely help, because if you don't know Spanish, it won't make it. I don't know, because I speak Spanish, so for me, it was nothing. But I think for the average person who goes to Cuba who doesn't speak Spanish, it may be a little difficult, because a lot of Cubans don't speak English. And just whenever I go to a country, I try to. I'm making a video on how to travel to Cuba. I'm gonna call you in like 5 minutes. Yeah.
Alright.
Where you at? Oh, that's my. Say hey to the to my fans, friend.
Hello.
To my fans.
Hey, man.
So ghetto. I'm gonna call you in like. I'm gonna call you in like 5 minutes. Answer the phone.
Okay, man.
Alright. Whenever I go to a country, I try to at least know the basics. Hi, bye, yes, no, please, thank you, how are you? Those go a long way. And it's just respectful. And Americans always like to say, you know, when foreigners come to America, they didn't know how to speak English. Well, if you go into their country, know how to speak Spanish, period. It's just respectful, man. And they appreciate the attempt. Even if you just attempt, people appreciate the attempt. So at least try to do that. So you have a few options when staying in Cuba. You can either do an Airbnb, you can do a hostel, you can do a hotel, or you can do a casa particulares, which is like when you stay with the actual family and they feed you and everything else. And it's usually about it varies, but you can get it for like as low as $20 a day, give or take, depending on when you book it and if they accept your offer. I personally prefer hostels, and that's what I did. I stayed with family for like one day, and then I went to a hostel. I could stay with my best friend's family. My best friend is from Cuba, and I stayed with them as well. And they fed me and shit, and it was lit, and we was turned, and yeah, I love them. So I stayed in the hostel. I booked my hostel on hostelworld.com, and it was $8 a day, and it was in a great area. It was very accommodating. It was clean. I met great people from London, from Australia, from Norway, from the States. So I prefer hostels when I backpack, especially if I'm traveling alone. That may not be your cup of tea. So if it is, if it's not, I prefer you may want to stay in a casa particulares. If you want to get the actual Cuban experience of staying with the family, if you want to do your own thing, you probably want to stay in an Airbnb. If you want security and not so much the interaction with other people when you don't want to be bothered, then you might want to stay in a hotel. It's up to you. When going from the airport to the city, don't pay more than 20 pesos, point blank period. I've heard so many stories of people saying that it was a group of them. My homeboy said it was three of them, 3 or 4. Yeah, it was 3 of them. And he said they paid taxi driver 30 pesos a piece. I'm like, bruh, absolutely not. No. No, 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 and no. I paid 20 pesos for 2 people. So, and that's why I say you need to know Spanish, because if you don't know, they will try to get over on you. That's just like in any country where there's tourists, they go try it. But definitely, if it's a group of y'all do not need to be paying 30 pesos a piece to get to where you need to go, point blank. When you're buying your ticket online, they'll give you a list of 13 reasons of why you can go to Cuba. You have to pick one of those 13 reasons. If you want to go for the less hassle-free way, then you just need to check people-to-people / educational purposes. Because if you check anything else, I don't know how the process will be in trying to prove anything to the U.S. Customs or anything like that. So I just advise you, because I did it, so I know what to expect. I know what they're going to do. I would advise you to just check the people-to-people educational option. Because when I got to the airport, they didn't even ask me why I was going to Cuba. I showed them my visa, and that was that. When I came back, when I had to go through U.S. Customs, the U.S. Customs guy asked me what was my reason for going, and I gave him educational purposes, and he was like, cool, sent my passport, bam, and that was that. So if you're going to Cuba, I'd advise you to just be easy on yourself. Don't make it harder than what it has to be. You don't need to explain why you go. You don't need to keep your receipts to show proof that you went to go do educational things when you work in Cuba. Just go have a good time, turn up, it's lit, and have fun, and come back and you good. Cool. Nightlife. I went for the New Year's, so it was turned anyway. I don't know if it's like that regularly, but it was turned like every day, all day. Kind of remind me of DR, low key. It's a club it's like an art gallery, but it's an actual club, and it only opens at 9 o'clock at night, at like 8 o'clock, I think. But it's an art gallery, and they have like Cuban hip hop artists. It seems to be like the most of the hangout spots are in Havana, old Havana. So if you're looking for somewhere to hang, like just nice bars and shit like that, then you might want to go to old Havana. And of course, you can go to the outskirts and go to things like the beach. I think it's called Verdado. Also, there's a side of town called Verado, I believe. It was like a whole bunch of bars. It's kind of hippie and a younger crowd, not so touristy. Few clubs over there too. Yeah, it's lit. That's lit. I would go over it. I think it's it's by the University of Havana. So if you wanna, catch up with some people that's our age, then that's where you need to go. Oh, taxis. When you're actually in the city, taxis are cheap as well. To get anywhere in Havana within the city limits, you don't need to pay more than 10 pesos, point blank. I never pay more than 10 pesos to go anywhere. I sometimes just pay 5. You can catch the bus if you adventurous like me, and it's like 10 cents. So it's up to you, It's up to you. But I definitely never paid more than 10 pesos to go anywhere. Between 5 and 10. Of course, you can bargain because that's just what they do. So of course they're going to start high, and then you come down low. So if they say 10, you say no, I'll give you 8. They'll say okay. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. But don't pay more than 10 to go nowhere. Period. So yeah, so have fun. Cuba's beautiful. Everybody's beautiful. The people are just fucking beautiful. My wife would be Cuban. I would live in Cuba for like 6 months out the year if I could. Even though it's communism, it's not, for me, it wasn't what I expected it to be. Like, they may not have the most of everything or the best of everything, but they genuinely seem happy. Now, that could just be my perspective from the outside looking in as a tourist, but from what I could see, they appear to be somewhat happy. I didn't feel unsafe anywhere I went. I actually felt safer there than I did here in the States. So you do the math. Oh, Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi. Whew. Wi-Fi is expensive. And you have to buy a Wi-Fi card to use the Wi-Fi. So a Wi-Fi card costs I got 5 hours for $7. You have to actually be in a Wi-Fi spot to get the Wi-Fi to work. Like, it's not going to work in a house. You got to go outside, like outside of a hotel. If you see like buku people sitting outside maybe a hotel on their phones and there's buku young people, most likely it's a Wi-Fi spot. So you can use that same card anywhere in the city to catch Wi-Fi. Bueno, tengo buen día, mi gente. Soy Reis Armstrong, and I'm out. Tengo buen día, dale. And if you need help with anything else, any questions, comments, whatever, inbox me. I'll respond. Follow me on Instagram at Love Reis and Soul. Reis is Reis. And yeah, peace.